What if I told you that every time you pay someone to do something you could learn yourself, you're funding your own imprisonment? Not metaphorically, literally. Every dollar you spend on services is a dollar that could have bought you freedom, bought you time, bought you independence, but instead, it buys you convenience. And convenience is a drug they use to keep you weak, dependent, and under control. Here's the part that should make your blood run cold. There are people right now, living in your city, in your neighborhood, who've figured out how to survive on a fraction of what you earn. Not because they're poor, because they're skilled. They know how to fix things, grow things, build things, heal things, and they trade these skills in an invisible marketplace that operates in the cracks of the official economy. No taxes, no regulations, no permission required. Just humans helping humans the way we did for 10,000 years before banks and corporations convinced us we needed them. And if you're wondering why nobody talks about this, why it's not on the news or taught in schools, the answer is simple. Because every person who learns to operate this way is a person they lose, and they can't afford to lose you. Let me paint you a picture. It's Sunday morning in a suburb outside Milwaukee, 1998. Before the internet made everyone stupid and isolated. Before smartphones turned humans into data-generating livestock. A man named Tom is standing in his driveway, hood of his Chevy open, grease up to his elbows. His transmission is shot. A mechanic quoted him $1,200, money he doesn't have. Money he'd have to put on a credit card. Money he'd spend the next 6 months paying off, with interest that would make the real cost closer to $1,500. His neighbor Dave walks over, watches for a minute, says he used to work on cars, used to rebuild engines in his dad's garage when he was a kid. Says he can probably fix it if Tom's willing to help and learn. They spend the afternoon in that driveway, Dave teaching, Tom learning. By evening, the transmission is working. Tom tries to pay him. Dave waves it off, says his deck needs staining, says if Tom wants to help next weekend, they'll call it even. No invoice, no contract, no money changed hands, but value was exchanged. Real value. Tom learned something, saved $1,200. Dave got help with his deck, saved hiring someone. Both men spent an afternoon working with their hands, solving problems, building a relationship. This is the shadow economy in its purest form. Skills for skills, time for time, human connection as the medium of exchange. Now let me show you where this goes, because Tom tells his wife about it. She mentions it to her friend Sarah. Sarah's toilet has been running for 3 months, wasting water, driving up her bill. She can't afford a plumber. Tom offers to look at it, brings Dave along. They fix it in 40 minutes. Sarah's a hairdresser, says anytime Tom or Dave or their wives need a haircut, come by. No charge. Just a thank you for the toilet. The network grows. Tom's wife is a bookkeeper. She starts doing taxes for Sarah in exchange for haircuts. Sarah's brother is an electrician. He rewires Dave's garage in exchange for Sarah cutting his family's hair for a year. Dave's sister is a teacher. She starts tutoring Tom's kids in exchange for Dave fixing her car. Within 18 months, this entire neighborhood has a functioning barter network, a shadow economy where skills flow freely and money is increasingly irrelevant. The official economy says these people should be struggling. Middle-class incomes, rising costs, stagnant wages. But talk to them and they'll tell you they've never felt more secure. Because security doesn't come from a bank account. It comes from knowing people who'll help you, from having skills people value, from being embedded in a web of reciprocity where everyone contributes and everyone benefits. Now let me take you somewhere darker, somewhere the shadow economy isn't a choice, it's survival. Detroit, 2013. The city declares bankruptcy. Largest municipal bankruptcy in American history. Streetlights go dark. Police stop responding to calls. Garbage piles up. The official economy has completely abandoned entire neighborhoods. But the people don't leave, can't leave, have nowhere to go, so they adapt. There's a woman named Gloria, 62 years old, worked the assembly line at a parts supplier until it closed. Her pension evaporated in the bankruptcy. Social Security barely covers rent. She should be destitute. Instead, she's running a small empire from her front porch. She knows how to garden, how to can food, how to make meals stretch. And in a neighborhood where the nearest grocery store is 3 miles away and nobody has reliable transportation, that knowledge is gold. She teaches her neighbors to garden in vacant lots. They tear down abandoned houses for lumber to build raised beds. She shows them how to compost, how to save seeds, how to preserve the harvest. In exchange, they help her fix her roof, winterize her windows, keep her supplied with firewood. One of them is a former nurse. She checks Gloria's blood pressure, manages her diabetes, keeps her alive without the doctor visits she can't afford. Nobody's getting rich, but nobody's starving either. They've built a survival network that operates completely outside the formal economy. No money, no official transactions. Just skills and reciprocity and the kind of grim determination that emerges when the alternative is death. This is the shadow economy stripped of romance, raw, necessary, invisible to everyone who doesn't live it. And here's what the people in power understand but won't say out loud. This is proof of concept. Proof that communities can survive without them, without their money, without their systems, without their permission. And if it works in the ruins of Detroit, it can work anywhere, which means people everywhere could opt out, could stop participating in the official economy, could stop being reliable consumers and compliant workers and debt slaves. That's the nightmare scenario for banks and corporations and governments. Not revolution, not violence, just mass defection. People quietly building parallel systems and walking away. Let me take you back to where this started. Not Detroit, not the Depression, further back. To the moment humans first got tricked into thinking they needed money to survive. England, 1700s. For centuries, people lived in villages, farmed common land, helped each other raise barns, shared tools, traded skills. If you needed something, you asked a neighbor. If you had something extra, you shared it, not out of altruism, out of self-interest, because you knew you'd need help eventually. The community was your insurance, your wealth, your security. Then the enclosure movement happened. The wealthy started fencing off common land, claiming it as private property. Suddenly, peasants couldn't graze animals, couldn't gather firewood, couldn't hunt, couldn't survive the way their families had for generations. They had two choices: starve or go to the cities, work in the factories that were just starting to multiply like cancer cells. The factories needed workers, cheap workers, desperate workers, workers who had no alternative. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. You can't create a workforce if people can survive independently. You can't keep wages low if workers have options, so you eliminate the options. You destroy the commons. You make independence impossible. You create a world where survival requires participation in the wage system, where you have to sell your labor to buy back your survival. This is the original sin of capitalism. Not free markets, not trade, the deliberate destruction of human beings' ability to meet their own needs, the creation of artificial scarcity and dependence. Fast forward to 1933. The Great Depression is destroying America. 25% unemployment, banks collapsing, businesses failing, savings evaporating. The official economy is a corpse. But something strange happens. People don't die in the streets in the numbers you'd expect, because they're reverting. Going back to the old ways, trading, bartering, sharing, building informal networks. There's a county in Oklahoma, Dust Bowl territory. Crops have failed for 3 straight years. The bank has foreclosed on most of the farms. Cash has disappeared like rain. According to the official economy, everyone should be dead or gone. But most people are still there, still surviving. How? Because a farmer with no cash but a working well trades water for labor. Someone with chickens trades eggs for repairs. Someone who can sew trades clothes for food. A whole underground economy emerges. Not organized, not planned, just humans doing what humans do when systems fail. Helping each other, trading skills, surviving. This terrified the government, not the suffering, the adaptation. Because if people could survive without the monetary economy, what did they need the government for? What did they need banks for? What leverage did the system have? So they responded. The New Deal brought relief, but it also brought control. Social Security gave everyone a number, made it easier to track them. Labor laws and business licenses made informal exchange harder, made it illegal to help your neighbor professionally without permission. Zoning laws made it illegal to run certain businesses from your home. Health codes made it illegal to sell food you prepared in your own kitchen. They wrapped it all in safety language. Worker protections, consumer safety, public health. And sure, some regulations genuinely helped. But they also had another effect. They made independence harder, made the shadow economy harder to operate, forced people back into the formal system, back under control. Then came the 1950s, the golden age of American capitalism. Factories humming, suburbs spreading, prosperity everywhere, at least in the official story. And this is when they perfected the psychological manipulation, when they figured out how to make people want to participate in the system, want to consume, want to work jobs they hated, to buy things they didn't need. There's a psychologist named Louis Cheskin. He works for corporations, helps them design packaging, figure out colors and shapes that make people want to buy. He discovers something powerful, that people don't buy products based on rational evaluation. They buy based on feelings, on associations, on subconscious triggers. He helps Marlboro rebrand from a women's cigarette to a men's cigarette, changes the packaging from ivory to red, adds a cowboy. Sales explode. Men start smoking Marlboros not because they taste better, because they make them feel masculine, rugged, independent, even though the actual effect is making them dependent, addicted, sick. This logic gets weaponized across every industry. Cars aren't transportation. They're freedom, status, power, sexuality. Houses aren't shelter. They're the American dream. Clothes aren't covering. They're identity. Every product gets wrapped in psychological manipulation, gets tied to insecurity and aspiration and the promise that buying it will make you complete, will fix whatever you think is wrong with you. And here's the truly sinister part. It works on most people. They genuinely believe they want these things. They've internalized the manipulation so completely that the desire feels authentic. They think buying a new car will make them happy. Think a bigger house will make them feel secure. Think the right clothes will make them confident. And when the purchase doesn't deliver, when the feeling fades, they don't question the logic. They just assume they bought the wrong thing, need to buy again, buy better. The system has trained them to chase satisfaction through consumption, and designed that satisfaction to be permanently out of reach. So people work, spend the majority of their waking adult life at jobs that often don't fulfill them, don't align with their values, don't utilize their full capabilities. But they do it because they need money. And they need money because they've organized their entire life around consumption. around buying solutions to problems instead of learning to solve them, around paying for services instead of developing skills, around outsourcing their survival to specialists and corporations and systems. Think about your own life. How much of what you pay for could you learn to do yourself? Your car breaks down. You pay a mechanic. Could you learn to fix it? Your sink leaks. You call a plumber. Could you learn to repair it? You want to eat. You go to a restaurant or buy prepared food. Could you learn to cook? You need a website. You hire someone. Could you learn to code? Your kid needs help with math. You hire a tutor. Could you learn to teach? Every time you pay instead of learn, you're making a choice. You're choosing convenience over competence, dependence over independence. You're choosing to remain weak, to remain needy, to remain controllable. And I get it. Learning takes time, takes effort, takes failure and frustration. It's easier to just pay someone, but easy isn't the same as good. Easy keeps you trapped, keeps you needing money, keeps you needing the job that provides the money, keeps you on the treadmill. But what if you made a different choice? What if every time something broke or you needed something, instead of paying for it, you learned how to do it? You'd spend time up front, but you'd gain a skill you'd have forever, a skill you could trade, and slowly, month by month, year by year, you'd need less money because you could do more yourself, could trade skills with neighbors, could operate increasingly in the shadow economy where skills are currency and money is optional. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. There's a couple in Portland, Jake and Maria. Jake works in tech, makes good money. Maria's a graphic designer. Combined income around 150. They're comfortable, but they're also miserable, working constantly, stressed about bills, worried about job security, living paycheck to paycheck despite the high income because their expenses match their earnings. The lifestyle inflation that happens when you make more and spend more and end up no better off. They start questioning it, start asking what they're working for, and they realize they're working to pay other people to do things they could learn to do themselves. So they start learning. Jake learns basic carpentry, builds furniture instead of buying it. Maria learns to sew, makes and repairs clothes. They start gardening, growing vegetables on their balcony. They learn to fix their bikes, to cook from scratch, to preserve food, to repair electronics. Their expenses drop. They realize they can live on half what they were spending. So Jake quits his job, takes a part-time contract gig, 20 hours a week, enough to cover basic expenses. The rest of his time, he learns more skills, builds things, helps neighbors. Maria does the same. They start trading. Jake builds a deck for a neighbor who's a mechanic. The mechanic maintains their car. Maria designs a logo for a local restaurant, gets free meals in exchange. They help another couple move. That couple helps them install solar panels. Within 2 years, their life is unrecognizable. They work maybe 30 hours a week combined, earn maybe $40,000, but their quality of life is higher than when they made $150, because they're not buying everything anymore. They're making, growing, fixing, trading. They've built a network of skilled people who help each other. And they've discovered something the system doesn't want anyone to know. That money is optional if you have skills and community. This is replicable. This is scalable. This is happening in pockets everywhere. People are waking up to the scam, realizing that the official economy is designed to extract from them, to keep them working, keep them consuming, keep them dependent. And they're opting out. Not completely, not loudly, but gradually, quietly, building parallel systems, shadow economies, networks of reciprocity that operate outside the monetary system. The establishment tracks this, calls it the informal economy, the underground economy, They estimate it represents 10 to 20% of GDP in America, more in other countries. That's trillions of dollars worth of economic activity happening completely off the books, value being created and exchanged without taxes, without oversight, without their permission, and it's growing because more people are realizing the official economy isn't serving them, isn't making them happy or secure or fulfilled. It's just making them tired, making them sick, making them old before their time. Every skill you learn is a vote against the system, against dependence, against control. You learn to grow food, you're voting against industrial agriculture and grocery stores. You learn to fix things, you're voting against planned obsolescence and repair monopolies. You learn to build, you're voting against contractors and inflated labor costs. You learn to heal, you're voting against a medical system designed for profit, not health. You learn to teach, you're voting against an education system designed to produce compliant workers, not critical thinkers. Skills are revolution, not the dramatic kind, the quiet kind, the kind that actually works. Because you're not fighting the system directly, you're just making it irrelevant, making yourself less dependent on it. And when enough people do this, the system loses its power, not through collapse, through obsolescence, through people quietly walking away and building something better in the spaces the system can't reach. You're not powerless, you're just untrained, and that's fixable. Start small, pick one thing you pay for regularly, learn to do it yourself, then another, then another. Build relationships with neighbors, find out what they're good at, offer to help them, let them help you. Start trading, start building the shadow economy in your own life, and watch what happens. Watch how quickly money stops mattering when you have skills and community. Watch how fast you stop caring about your salary when you realize you can survive on half of it. Watch how freedom feels when it's not abstract, when it's tangible, real, yours. The shadow economy is waiting. All you have to do is step into it, learn something, help someone, trade, and become ungovernable, not through resistance, through irrelevance. By building a life they can't control because it doesn't depend on them. That's the real revolution, and it's happening right now. In driveways and kitchens and gardens, in quiet exchanges between neighbors, in skills flowing freely through communities that never show up in official statistics. It's invisible to them, but it's real and it's growing. And you can be part of it, starting today, starting now, with one skill, one trade, one step toward freedom.